I keep using this phrase, falling back in love with Albion, but I really do think that the fellows have to fall back in love with it.
Hey there, Albion. Are you ready to discover the hidden gems of our community? I'm Cassidy Porter, your host and proud Albion resident. Join me on Brick by Brick, the podcast that celebrates the people, places, and stories that make Albion so special. Together, we'll explore the rich history of our town, from its manufacturing roots to its vibrant present. We'll chat with local leaders, volunteers, and small business owners to learn more about the incredible work they're doing to make Albion a better place. So whether you're a lifelong resident or just visiting, tune in to Brick by Brick, and let's discover the heart and soul of Albion, one story or brick at a time. Welcome back to the Brick by Brick podcast. I'm your host, Cassidy Porter, and today I'm joined by Kyndall Lewis, an Albion College senior, Build Albion Fellow, and Albion's Big Read College volunteer, volunteer at the community gardens, and active Albion local, if that wasn't apparent already. Today we're focusing on her experiences as an active member in the Albion community, as well as being an Albion College student. So thanks for joining me today, Kyndall.
Of course, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So the podcast normally starts off with description and discussion around your Albion story and your connections to the community.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see how far we want to go back. Well, my parents it's interesting because they're not actually from Albion.
Okay.
But they act like they are. And so, they were born in Jackson, both of them, born and raised in Jackson. But then once they came here for college, they just, never left.
Okay.
And then just kind of were
This is Albion.
Yeah, we're from here.
Yep.
And it's interesting, too, because they've dug such deep roots that I forget that they're not from here. I'm from here.
Yeah, different level to it. Yeah.
I'm also only from here because they're here. So it's this weird, I don't know. Everybody knows my parents. Mm-hmm. And it's odd that I find somebody that's from Albion that's oh, I don't know who that is. Mm-hmm. I'm because my dad, he was the assistant principal at the high school when it was still open. But then he was also a math teacher for I don't know how many ever years before that, and then he was a social studies teacher at the middle school. So I've been here. I grew up here.
Yeah, you're rooted here.
Yeah.
From your parents moving here.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
And it's been interesting to now go to Albion College because my dad was also cross country coach and track coach. He was the assistant there for 15 years. And so I have a different relationship within college than I feel a lot of people in Albion do. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that it was a thing that was going on until I got older, that people weren't familiar with the college and they didn't go on the college campus and they weren't at the Dow and they weren't swimming there. Swimming at the Dow and being on the track and just being in those facilities, that was a huge part of my childhood. And I didn't realize that people felt ostracized from that part of Albion until I kind of started going there and I started realizing it and also feeling it a little bit. I was people, I don't know, would say certain stuff and I'd be oh, you think that about people that live here? Well, I'm from here.
That's a lot of pocket, but thank you.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but so yeah, I grew up on college campus, but also in Albion. I went to Albion. I went to Harrington. I went to the K through 8. I moved schools right before it shut down. Okay. I think maybe 2 years before, and then I ended up going to Western, which is 15 minutes towards Jackson. My sisters ended up following along. Erin and I were the first to go there, and then Erin is my older sister.
I know, it's really odd in a podcast format when you already know the person you're talking to, but you're okay, does the audience know?
I'm I'm just name dropping right now. But basically we went to Western, and it was interesting because after coming back for college, I didn't realize how disconnected I was from Albion until I came back, because I was whoa, I actually have not been here for the past 6 years. This is a place where I came to eat dinner with my family and I slept. And then I would, like, all of my other events were in, like, Parma, Jackson area. Like, my dad ended up working in Jackson, and in Spring Arbor, my mom ended up working in Jackson. So we were, like, whatever was going on in Albion, we were out of touch with it. We did not. And so coming back to Albion, it was like, whoa, like, I have really not been here. I don't know if you share this experience at all.
Like, when you talk about that, like, I can feel, I guess, reflecting on it, I kind of did have the same feelings. Like, I knew I was in Albion, and Albion was a large part of, like, the identity that I carried over to Marshall. But then, like, swimming and band and all of those things take place and happen in a different community. So, like, you're living... You're over in a different space for, like, 12 hours of your day. You could be. Like, so it's just, like, there is this large disconnect, I think, that can happen from, like, community to school to then, like, coming back and, like, seeing and reflecting on it. Because, like, you're aware of, like, some of the big community events that are going on. Like, you probably always knew Festival of Forks was coming around.
And that was, like, we went. But then the other stuff, like the smaller stuff, like we just weren't tapped in like that. And so coming back and going to school here, it's been really refreshing to, like, fall back in love with it because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here. Like, I'm back.
You mean present.
Yes. Yeah. And so I came back, and not that I really ever left, but
you like mentally came back.
Yes. And so then once I started here my freshman year at the college, I've been a part of the Big Read, the Albion Community Gardens, Playwright Sports Academy. I'm an FYE mentor this year.
Oh, awesome.
I was on the soccer team and on the lacrosse team. So lots of different things I've been up to, and just a lot of different ways that I've been able to, or that specifically the Fellows program has allowed me to, like, reach out in many different directions.
So it kind of sounds like, too, that being a part of Albion College, you've also been able to find different community spaces within the college itself.
Yes.
And within the community, too. So that's kind of an interesting side because a lot of the people that I talked to, or even my own experiences, like, I had the few things at college, but a lot more of it was in the community. Like, I wasn't in sports myself. But hearing you say that you were into sports, that's really interesting that you were able to find more, if that makes sense.
And it's been cool, too, because I'm a part of SAC, which I literally don't remember what it stands for, but it's basically, like, student volunteerism for athletic teams. And so I've been able to, like, then use my community relations that I've built through the Fellows and just being a part of, just being a community member. And I've been able to, like, attach that to my team and then bring them along with me. And say, like, here's the community gardens, and here's the green. It's been really cool. And kind of, like, nudging them to be like, isn't this great? Like, don't you love it here?
Don't you want to get involved? Don't you want to stay around? And that's always awesome.
Like, specifically my team, like, they love Albion. Like, I love, it's, like, one of my favorite things about them. Because I want people to love Albion, and when they are like, oh yeah, this is awesome, I'm like, heck yeah, it is.
I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I've seen change over the last few years is, like, this, like, seeing more college students fall in love with the Albion community. Like, whether it's through this program itself, through, you know, the big, through the Big Read.
Seriously.
Through the Fellows, too. And I don't know if it's, like, those, or, like, if there's just more of a push from the college itself to try to be in the community. I just feel like I see more college-age students that are actually out and around in the community who I don't even necessarily recognize doing, like, community things. And I'm like, this is great. This is what you should be doing.
This is why you're here. Cool.
I love it. So then I'm really curious, like, what are you studying at Albion College? Because, like, the things that you're, like, volunteering with is, like, a large mix of different, like, social groups in a way. So, like, is there a, like, path within that, or what are you studying?
So I started out wanting to be an occupational therapist, and then I realized I was going to have to go to extra school for that, and then I was like, never mind. And so now I am an environmental studies major. And I have a minor in kinesiology and in English. And the English minor just kind of came about because a lot. So with the environmental studies classes, they kind of overlap with English classes.
It just made sense to add it in.
So I was like, oh, I've taken like a bunch of English classes. Let me just like take
Add
a few more.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in kinesiology, but I didn't want it to be my major.
That's definitely one of the tough ones too.
Oh,
like, Not that all of them aren't tough, but kinesiology is...
Got my GPA.
You gotta have that mindset.
Yeah.
To be into kinesiology. Yeah. That's a very liberal arts
I know, right?
panel. Like, when I would tell people that I majored in business and minored in art, like, that's what they'd say to me. But I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, this is...
I love it, though.
I love it. Yeah. So what are you hoping to do with that, then?
There's like a really interesting intersection that I haven't completely figured out how to make a career out of.
Okay.
That is between public health, because I also have a public health concentration. I forgot to say that. Public health, food security, and food freedom, and nutrition, and how so like I kind of have like body, mind, soul with the English kind of knocked in. That is like really interesting to me because I really have been able to see how all of them intersect, but I don't know how I want to like go about intersecting them
in your way.
And like I think I might end up doing extra school anyways because I kind of I'm interested in becoming a registered dietitian.
Okay.
So that could just like add a little bit more backing and knowledge to growing food, because and being able to just like be more of a knowledge base rather than just like here's this, because I think one of the problems with just growing food is that a lot of people don't know what to do with it. Like,
right.
I'm giving you like fresh kale. What do you go home and what are you gonna do with that? I don't know. Like, I've struggled with that too. Just being like, okay, I have fresh food, but like,
what do I do?
Yeah.
Like besides making a salad with that kale, what can I do with it?
Exactly.
That's an interesting perspective to have when it comes to like food insecurities and finding those like cross paths, because I think that is like the missing step. Like people think we can just, we'll just provide.
Yeah.
We'll just provide it. And it's just like, but if you don't know what to do with it, you're going to fall right back into the pattern of, this is easy. I know how to do it. So.
And it's just also like, I know my mom will buy stuff and like, it'll just like produce will end up sitting on our counter because like we don't know what to put it in. Like we get, and so like, I think there's cooking intersections, and then there's just like knowledge about food in general, and then the other thing is just like full wellness. I'm really interested in exercise and a bunch like all kinds of exercise and how that can impact your total wellness, and so like all of those I'm just trying to like
and that would probably combine in the most interesting way,
I know,
too.
I'm so excited.
Like, I'm excited to see that for you.
Yeah.
To see what that comes of. But it's really interesting to hear even how, like, your current placements and your current service has been able to give you those opportunities, too. Because you're seeing, like, your English minor coming out through the Big Read. You're seeing your focus and interest in food at the community gardens, which to have that intersectionality, then also being active in the things that you're being hands-on with.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's been such a blessing. Yeah, no, super cool.
So then, looking a little bit more into, like, the beginning of your college career, what made you want to become a Build Albion Fellow and, like, continue your education here in the community?
So, I think this is a moment to be for real right now.
Okay.
Because I think that for me, and I think I can maybe speak for a few other fellows, that I came in and I was like thinking about it as like an equation. Like, I do this thing, you give me money, and I go to college. And, like, I'm gonna do the things you asked me to do. I'm gonna get my degree. And I wasn't invested in any way, like, especially coming back from being, like, outside of the community, coming back, I felt almost like imposter syndrome. Seeing the older fellows and seeing how, like, dedicated and invested they were in the community of Albion and in the city of Albion. I was like, I don't feel that way. And I was like, I didn't know why. And but I used to feel that way completely. Like, when the school systems were here and I was like, I was just part of everything. Just like my parents just, like, put us in everything that was under the sun in Albion. And so I kind of felt like, oh, this is weird. But the thing that I keep using this phrase, falling back in love with Albion, but I really do think that the fellows have to fall back in love with it as they come back, because the program was built for people that were already in love with it because they were here. And so we've gotten to a point where we're disconnected from that, because at this point, everybody that's in the fellows is no longer in a position to, like, actually be in Albion. They have to be from another school, like, coming from another school system. So their lives are dissected in ways. And so really it was just, for me, I was like, it's the cheapest option and I can stay here and it'll be cool and I love Albion. But as I've gone through the years, I've become much more invested and seen it in a completely different light than like the simple logic that I made that made the decision for me to just be here. And I completely understand looking at those older fellows and being like, I was like, how did they get there? And, like, now I'm there and I'm like, I want to be able to, like, pass that on to the younger fellows. But yeah.
It's interesting. Because I kind of think of it too in, like, the ways of, like, those references to the older fellows, like, they more or less went to school together. They at least went to elementary school together in Albion. Yeah. And, like, my class did that, but then everyone below me, it is kind of disconnected in those ways. So to hear your experiences of, like, just wanting or, finding that path back to falling in love with Albion is really interesting to hear from that perspective of things. Because, like, we all did still have that love for in some degree, some passion of it, but it makes sense because we were here until 8th grade. Like, we were a little bit more developed before we went into a different community. Like, we knew that sense of self with our community in mind. But
and I spent 6-7 years, like, disconnected, and I was just like, came back and was like,
okay,
I'll do it.
I'll do it because it's a good deal.
And now I'm at the point where I'm like, I can't imagine if I did anything else. Like, I love the opportunities that I've been afforded by being here and being a part of the Fellows program have been, like, completely unmatched by any other program I think I would have been a part of.
So what's, like, one of the most impactful things you've been able to do with the Fellows program?
I think that's really
it's a hard one
to say. Yeah.
Especially when you're a person who, like, has multiple placements or, like, has bounced around placements a little bit. That was myself too. Like, I shifted and moved a lot, but
oh God, I think probably twofold of just seeing I think the impact of seeing what intentionality does through the big read specifically. That is one of the biggest things that I've pulled from there, is that when you can be intentional about something, and the more you're intentional about it, the better product you're going to get. With the big read, Jess and Nels Jess is the director and Nels is the assistant director, and they are so particular about every single detail that goes into the big read, and they completely create this environment that is unlike any other I've been in. And they get the thing that they want out of it because they're so intentional and thoughtful about every single thing. And so that for me has probably impacted me in the way that I like go about things in a really big way. And then I'd say the other thing with the community gardens is just how much freedom being able to grow and eat and have access to the foods that you want, how important that is. Like every time we put food out, it's all gone, all of it. And I'm like, and I grew up in a family that was fortunate enough to be food secure. And so it didn't really occur to me until I was older, like probably like middle school, that people were hungry. People did not have access to food in the same way that I did. And so now knowing that that exists, and then also being able to, like, having grown food myself and not being food insecure and feeling the empowerment from that, I'm like, this has to be shared with everybody. Like, everybody should feel this empowered about food. Like, I'm not in a position where I necessarily, like, need this, and yet it's still impacting me in this way that I feel, like, really rooted and grounded to myself when I know where my food came from, when I know that I grew it, or somebody that I knew, like, I knew exactly what went into it. And also it's just like a labor of love. And so I would say those are the two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you like foresee yourself continuing to grow your own food then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I love that. So we recently had Jess, Nels. I don't know why I said we. Like, it's not just
us.
me.
Yeah.
Me. But so I recently had Jess, Nels, and KJ on the podcast to discuss Albion's Big Read. And we were really in depth, especially focusing on like the past 10 years of the program, which is amazing.
Awesome.
But then I also had Bree and Milena on to talk about the connections of the Big Read to Albion's Build Albion Fellows. For you, though, what does it mean to be a Build Albion Fellow and to be a Build Albion Fellow who's involved with Albion's Big Read?
I'd say to be a Build Albion Fellow is someone that is dedicated to the Albion community and also bridging the gap between the college and the community. I don't think I would have said the second part when I started here, but it's become apparent to me that that gap is there, and the town would be so much more united and so much better off if these two entities were to be able to combine and give each other the things that the other's lacking. And I think specifically the city of Albion has so much love and togetherness that a lot of these students that are coming in, like, they, especially as freshmen, like, they need that. And then they can take that out with them into the rest of the world and then go into whatever communities they go into. Because Albion, I feel like the Albion love is like a different kind of love. I mean, maybe I'm just saying that because I'm from here, but
no, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. But I'm also from
here.
That's
so right. I think it's so special and like so unique. I've never been anywhere else where I've felt that from like a community standpoint. Not even necessarily from individuals, where I've been like they like their hometown, but they're not like, oh, I like
invested in their hometown in the same way.
Yeah. And so like, I think Albion has so much to offer the college, and then the college has so many people to invest back into the community and help build us up as well. And so that's what I would say for the fellows. But to be a CV and a Build Albion Fellow, I I'd honestly say the same thing. I would say the same thing because the leaders are people that are in a position that I was in. Slightly different because I didn't go to Marshall. But they could go to Albion. In a few years, they could be here in my position. And so it's like this cyclical thing that I'm like giving everything I have to these leaders, and then they're seeing this, and they're taking it in and absorbing it, and then they're going to give it out to other people, and they could potentially be at the college and give it out back to people that were in their position. And so it's like this whole, I think it's beautiful because it's just like it just keeps going. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. How long have you been a part of the Big Read?
Just the past 2 summers.
Okay.
So this is my second year as a CB.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. What's been like your favorite part then about being a part of it?
The leaders. They're freaking awesome. They're so brilliant. They're so intelligent and thoughtful, and they really buy into everything. Like, one of the things that, I wish I had been a part of a program like this when I was in 8th to 10th grade, because one of the things that I think I thought and felt was that, like, I lost some of that, like, playfulness and, and I thought, like, trying was, like, bad. Because, like, if you tried too hard, like, it was like, oh, like.
That's definitely, I think, the most common middle school or high school feeling of like, oh.
Yeah, trying is not cool. Yeah. And so, like, it's cool because I'm like, these leaders are, like, trying, and they're awesome, and they're doing, like, fantastic things. And so just being able to, like, be a part of their lives and, like, be a side character, I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah. How do you think Albion's Big Read has impacted the community?
I think it's given back those ties that I was missing. So since the school's shut down, there has been a disconnect, I feel, from the youth in the community and then the rest of the community, because usually the youth is like tied to the community through the school system and through the programs that the school system provides. And so being able to, like, get these kids that are from Albion and then, like, tie them back to Albion and root them back in the community, I think is amazing. And it also, like, shows the youth in the community in a different way than if you were to not be a part of a community program. It'd kind of be like an invisible population, because where are you going to see them if you don't see them at these programs? At, like, family fair, or are you going to see them, like, walking down the street? And that's not really seeing them either. So it's giving a spotlight to these brilliant young people that are in the community in a way that, like, there wouldn't be if not for a program like the Big Read. Yeah.
So is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure that we talk about?
I think that people that are investing back in Albion, I think I just want them to know how important they are. Because truly, like, Jess knows Trisha Franzen. She's the director of the community garden out on North Jefferson. Dick Porter. I'm trying to think. All these people are doing so much work and are impacting people in so many ways, and anyone can be a part of it. And it's really just person by person. Like, we're just gonna brick by brick. Yeah, we're just building it back up. Yeah,
brick by brick.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. So my final question for you then, and I love to ask this at the end of all of the podcasts.
Okay.
Is what do you hope for the future of Albion?
That's really interesting. I just hope that more and more people feel the Albion love. That's what I hope. That just like, that never fades and always continues to grow and always continues to spread, because I think it's such a special thing.
Well, thank you for joining me today,
Of
Kyndall.
course.
That's it for this episode of Brick by Brick. We'll be back with more stories from the heart of Albion. Until then, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep building Albion's future.